Hello everybody and welcome to the Real Housewives Edit. My name is Elle and I'm here to talk about the two loves of my life, editing and housewives. Oh my gosh, you guys, there's so much drama going on in the Bravo universe right now. Some of it is so dark, I can't even believe where we've come. Do you guys remember 15 years ago when we were just watching like Vicky sell insurance and that was good enough for us?
Hi, BravoTV.com. Welcome to my new office. Come on in.
I guess it's just confirmation that we are all on the right track, that the world is being taken over by the housewives. You and I are on the right side of history because this show is the best show on TV. Again, thank you guys so much for 1,000 subscribers. I can't even believe I can even say that. I just want to thank you guys so much for subscribing. I love your comments so much. I'm trying to get through and respond to them all because I truly love connecting with you guys. So please feel free to leave a comment below if you have anything to say. I'm reading every single one of them. Today we are going to be covering the scene in The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. The scene that they have been kind of hanging the whole season on where Erika goes off. It was very dark for me. Also a little bit anticlimactic in true Real Housewives of Beverly Hills fashion. But more than anything, I want to talk to you guys about, of course, the editing because it was so interesting to watch from an editorial standpoint. And I can't wait to talk to you guys about it. So let's jump right in.
What happened at dinner?
I didn't hear any conversation.
Erika brought up the $750,000 earnings, and she was completely open. And I even said to her,
okay, so very first, as Garcelle is talking to Dorit and Diana about this, and she's kind of keeping her voice low, they immediately cut to Erika, and you can see they kind of push in on Erika. Move the camera closer as she's taking a drink. Of course, this is part of her storyline, which we've talked about before, which she's overindulging in the alcohol department. But also, as I've watched this scene several times to prepare for this video here, I do think that they are almost sort of setting us up as an audience. When a lot of people have been overserved in the same room, the conversations and the arguments and stuff aren't exactly lining up or making sense. And honestly, as a viewer, it's a little bit frustrating because you want points to be made a little bit better than they are. I do think that they're sort of setting this conversation up to show, you know, Erika's in the corner drinking, because I do think it does add a little bit of context to what we're about to see.
and said to her, if it was up to me, I would have given the earrings if it's going to help somebody in pain.
But did she say she didn't want to return it?
She said she wanted to go through the legal process.
Everybody's acting like only Erika can do something about it. But guess what? If you are so passionate about those victims, well, put your money where your mouth is. Take out your earrings and donate. We can all help.
She'll come over and she'll...
Okay, so they cut to Diana with this confessional talking about how everyone, you know, can donate. And I'm sure you guys heard the news that she actually did donate $100,000. When I first heard that, before I even watched the episode, and I heard that she did that donation, I was like, oh my gosh, she is like, this is kind of going up against her and Erika's friendship. I was like, I actually was not sure if Diana was going to come back, but after seeing that donation, I was like, maybe this is going to secure her coming back next season because it could cause some conflict between her and Erika. But then I watched this episode and I was like, oh, she's just... she's like, oh shoot, I didn't put my money where my mouth is, like I said to do in the episode, so I got to do it real quick. Not that it wasn't a great thing. I'm not like that taking away from it. I think it was awesome for her to donate that, but I do think the intention was a little bit different. Yeah, a little bit different.
She'll come over and she'll tell you anything. It was really surprising. Erika!
What?
Get over here.
Wait, what are you inviting me over for?
Okay, so I want you guys to look at that little angle that they use. Now, we obviously know they have a camera on Erika where it's just her, because we just saw it previously where she's drinking her drink. They could have just had it be just the shot of her, but instead they chose a dirty frame. What I mean by a dirty frame is you can actually see Garcelle's shoulder, you can see a little bit of Diana's shoulder. It's kind of right in between the ladies looking at Erika. There's many reasons why editors would choose this angle. I think for the purposes of this scene specifically, they chose that because they want the audience to feel like they are part of this little foursome group that's about to talk to Erika. By having sort of like a dirty frame in there, you almost feel like you're like a part of the action as opposed to it being just a shot of Erika, if that makes any sense.
I don't want to talk behind your back. What a bitch you are in your face.
Sutton, you're a lawyer. Go over there and talk to them.
I have not taken the LSAT yet.
You gotta study. You said you're studying.
I haven't studied yet, Kyle. I haven't had time to study.
You're a lawyer. Go over there.
Listen.
Now, of course, they had to put in this moment, which is sort of like a comic relief moment, right? It's also kind of cute, like Sutton and Kyle talking and being kind of silly together as opposed to everyone always ganging up on Sutton. It's nice to see Sutton like laughing. But they did put this light moment in there, and you guys, if you've watched many of my videos, you guys know why. They need to provide some contrast. What is coming down the pike, if you guys have watched this, is some very dark stuff. So they needed to start it out with some lightness. I'm sure they had shots that they could have cut to where they're sort of being like, what's going on? You know, what's about to happen? But instead, they chose to pick sort of a light moment so that when Erika starts to go dark, it really is contrasting and really grabs our attention much more.
I didn't want to talk behind your back.
Okay, go ahead. Talk in front of my
I would
face.
say how open you were, and you want to go through the legal system. Like you really
Well, I
believe in
have
the
to.
legal
There's
system.
no point about
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to do anything that is not required of me under the law.
Is there something that you might want to do
No.
outside
The
of
one
it?
thing that I noticed about the scene when I was watching it several times over, because I was just like, oh my gosh, this scene is crazy. They have so many angles. The only reason that I can see why they would have used all of these angles is that there was a lot more said and a lot more building that this conversation needed to have. Meaning there might have been a lot more fluff, a lot more talking that wasn't very exciting or that didn't kind of push this storyline and this conversation forward. We're close on Erika, we're far on the four of the ladies, then we're on the other side of them, and then we're, you know, looking at the girls on the couch. Like, there's just so much going on. All I can say from an editorial perspective is usually when they're moving around a lot, it's because they're trying to build something in post. In post meaning after it actually happened.
Under the law?
Absolutely not. People sued me. I have my response. Until the judge decides, that's it.
But here's the thing, the justice is based on facts.
Right.
But don't you think there might be a story that's right versus the law?
No, the law is precedent.
I would give it up.
Well,
Why?
yeah,
Because you can look good?
In this moment right here, it does feel like they have their three shots that they're picking. Diana, the Crystal and Garcelle shot, and then the Erika shot. So this little piece of the conversation might have gone how it's playing out here. As the scene progresses, they're using more and more and more of the angles.
would feel compassion for other people.
Why don't you think I feel compassion?
So it's really interesting the way that they'll do things with the music and pauses, especially when they're trying to build tension in scenes like this. For instance, Garcelle says,
I would feel compassion for other people.
I believe that Erika probably jumped right in on that with her next line. But what they did was you see the sort of music sort of slowing down. It comes in and they get the reaction shots of the other ladies. That's all done in post, meaning that I don't think that Erika was sitting there waiting for a response or thinking in her mind or letting that moment kind of play out. I believe that was built in editing, and that's all for our enjoyment and all for us to sort of feel more tension as the conversation is starting to build.
Compassion. Because I haven't fought it out yet?
No. I think you don't have the compassion because you don't want the compassion to seem like you're guilty.
I'm not guilty.
I'm not saying you are.
But that
if
just-
you
wait.
do that, it
Hold on.
might look like you are.
No. I'm not guilty. That's why I fight as hard as I do.
So I want you guys to look at this scene as almost like a roller coaster. Maybe down the line I'll be able to pay for like some graphic designer to build me a roller coaster, but for now we're just gonna use my hand. Basically what they're doing is they're moving up a mountain to get to the top, right? So Erika says, I'm not guilty. And that's sort of the top, the peak of the mountain, and then the music stops and they level it out again, bring the roller coaster down, where Garcelle says, you know, I'm not saying you are. Build tension, build tension, build tension. Garcelle goes, oh no, I'm not saying you're this. Okay, tension is released a little bit. Us as an audience, we go, okay, there's not gonna be some huge blowout fight, right? And now we need to go back up the mountain again and watch as they start the music again.
It's about trying to make people whole, that's all.
Okay, so there it is right there. So Crystal comes in and says it's about trying to make people whole, which is about basically saying like, you're not doing that. So it's a little bit accusatory. We get that knife sharpening sound. We get the look from Erika, the sort of look of like utter contempt. We know we're about to hit another mountain, and us as an audience feel that maybe this mountain is going to be a little bit higher than the last one that Garcelle and Erika were on.
There is a place to make people whole, and it in a court of law, not in the court of public opinion.
We're not talking about public opinion.
Yeah, you are. You're not letting the legal process.
So as soon as she screams, yeah, you are, you know, all of us are sort of like terrified. And then they of course go to the couch with the ladies who are the spectators. And you can hear that sound effect coincides perfectly with Kyle's mouth opening in that shock. For me, it was a little anticlimactic just because I think they gave away a lot of the best parts in the trailer, which they have to do, especially if they don't have too much else. They have to do that to get the viewers in. I just wish this cast would let things play out a little bit more. Then we could see these trailers and watch them show these big moments, but it's nothing like the actual show because there's so much more being uncovered and uncovered and uncovered. Unfortunately, with the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, like these big moments happen and then that's kind of it. But if you didn't watch the trailer and you were surprised by everything that's going on here, everything that Erika is saying, when she starts to yell, it should be like your heart is in your throat, like, oh my gosh, what is about to happen?
Letting the legal process play out.
Whether or not your husband has been convicted of the crimes, why can't you show empathy? It's asinine to me. I don't understand.
The law matters.
So the parts that they picked to show of Erika while Crystal is talking are really interesting to me. First of all, they show a look from Erika that isn't maybe the best look from her, especially in this conversation. It comes off for me just so defensive. And then they show a clip of her taking a drink. Now I want you guys to look at that drink. Does it look a little bit more full than it did when she first came up to the bar? They could have pulled this clip of her drinking this drink from way earlier. We will never know, but I did feel like it was a little bit more full than when she set it down.
The law matters. And if you don't understand that, you're an amateur and get the out. Just because someone alleges that you did you're gonna throw your hands up and say, I did, oh my God, I feel so bad. People are thinking I'm terrible. Hold on a minute. That's one side of the story. Let's tell the other side. Do you believe that just because somebody says so?
No one said so. That's how I feel. No one's telling me to care about victims. I care.
Yeah,
I just wanted one person to say like, some of the cases have already been proven. Because Erika keeps coming back with like, she's going to be coming back with like, cite it, you know, give me facts, like it's in litigation. But I believe there have been already cases that have been proven. In fact, they've been proven years ago. That's where I was talking about where everyone seems overserved or they've had these, you know, these edibles. Beverly Hills Housewives are frustrating to me. You guys understand, okay.
Yeah, but you're not
Let's get real.
Yeah, let's get real. You're not caring without facts, though. What facts do you have?
That there's dead people that money was stolen from. Those
Really?
are f***ing facts, dude.
No, it's not. Where are your facts? Back them up, come on.
It just feels like every time Erika starts to get like in that really aggressive mode, you can hear the music turn into like an aggressive sort of feel too.
Where are your facts? Back them up, come on.
If the music went silent there, right there, I would know that Crystal's gonna come back with what we all wanted her to come back with and be like, in 2000, whatever. Like, I would have loved if Crystal had all of the information like top of mind, but she just doesn't. And so when the music starts to go there, you know that Erika is sort of, it's almost like Erika's song. For me, when I hear that music going and I hear her kind of getting aggressive, I'm sort of like, no one's gonna do it.
Cite it.
You're telling me that there's
telling
victims
you,
that were not
I'm
paid
telling you
from their class action
Yeah,
suits?
have you proven that?
You're telling, like, what she's saying there doesn't make any sense.
You're telling me that
I'm
there's
telling
victims
you,
that were not
I'm
paid?
telling
Again, I know she was on the couch during the edible arrangement with Sheree and Rinna, so I understand if maybe everything's not firing there, but it's just frustrating because you just want to get in that scene and be like, no, here are the facts. Also from an editorial standpoint, I just know the points aren't going to be made because the music is just continuing.
I understand that these people have passed away, and I feel terrible about that. We need to find out what did or did not happen to their settlement money. That is a different fight. It's a civil lawsuit, so it's not a criminal lawsuit, so it's not an issue of guilt or innocence. Let's get that very straight.
Yeah.
The edible has taken effect. This is like getting in the way of my vibe.
It is not an issue.
So, of course, as she's sort of speaking about that civil thing, they cut to these ladies kind of being spectators on the couch, and they're showing Lisa putting her head in her hands, sort of like totally exasperated at this. This, I believe, is when they start to get a little bit wacky with the cuts, showing all sorts of coverage, and I think that's because they're really building this conversation in the post-production.
An issue of criminal liability.
Too bad that the edible tin came out too late. If I'd given everybody an edible, we would have had like Doritos and been eating and laughing.
Did you guys see the Shady editor moment when they cut to Dorit when she says the word Doritos?
Doritos.
Editors, I see you.
Laughing, whatever. They're bumming my high. They're bumming my high.
I'm not saying I don't feel for the potential victims.
Yeah. Potential victims.
Yep. Yeah, because who knows that they're true or not.
Okay. For 2 decades, Erika was living this lavish lifestyle.
Okay, so I want you guys to look at the reaction shot that they chose there when Garcelle is starting to talk about, you know, for 2 decades, Erika lived this lavish lifestyle. They show Erika and she's got that really like arrogant, not a favorable look to her. And they chose that on purpose. They have so many options of things that they can choose, but they choose very specifically, and that is to push storyline forward and also make us feel something and also really tell the truth of what's happening here.
Off the backs of these victims, even if Erika is innocent, her refusing to give anything back is beyond me.
We're not talking about people you don't know. We're talking about people that are in front of you, and that's me. And you know what? Because someone said something does not make it true.
Not cool what Erika said right now.
Okay, so they of course went to Kyle. Kyle is very, she's very expressive. Like you can tell Kyle grew up an actress. She has these big things like this big giant reaction to what Erika's saying there. I thought that was kind of a weird cut, because I personally didn't drop my jaw at what she just said. There were some other moments previous that I was like, oh gosh, like that's a jaw-dropping moment. But it was interesting that they chose that moment from Kyle to show that jaw-dropping. I don't know, maybe that was when she did drop her jaw, but something telling me they kind of pulled that to sort of, you know, because they're trying to heighten here, heighten. And I do think, again, that they're kind of making this conversation a little bit more dramatic and shorter than it actually was at the time.
If it were me in her shoes,
It's not good.
I would be making a statement about how I do care about her.
Okay, so I want you guys to see that cut there. They cut to Erika and she's looking over. Now, it's a really quick cut, but she is actually looking over at Kyle and Rinna and the girls on the couch. This is where the scene sort of gets a little bit all over the place for me, editing-wise, but the fact that Erika's looking at them, it looks like she's almost about to chime in on their conversation, but we'll get to it, okay.
The victims, and please be patient with the process. Something along those lines.
All I think about are victims.
No, so they cut to this thing with Erika looking at them on the couch, but she's actually still in this conversation with Crystal and Garcelle. So it was an interesting cut that they did there. I was just wondering, maybe they ran out of reaction shots and they were like, hey, no one will notice if we grab this one where she's actually, you know, reacting to the ladies on the couch. I just don't see her like, she's talking to Crystal and Garcelle and she looks over at them while they're talking. I don't know what they were trying to do there. It was an interesting, just an interesting cut moment there.
I don't give a about anybody else but me.
Okay, so that's a moment where I could see Kyle doing that thing where her jaw drops. Like that moment right there was wow. And then they drag out the moment after she says that, because that is supposed to be sort of a huge bomb dropping in this conversation.
But me.
And you can even hear the sound effect, right? That huge sound effect.
It's not about just law. There's people and victims involved.
The question is, were they
Okay, so
defrauded by-
this is a part where Erika looks down at the group and you can see it's that shot where the wall is to the left of her, which they tried to use as a reaction shot earlier. It makes sense here because Kyle's actually speaking up.
by Girardi Keys, not by Erika Girardi. Were they defrauded by Girardi Keys? Guess what? I don't work at Girardi Keys. I'm not a licensed lawyer. I don't control that. I've never met these people. So
do
that
you,
is the question.
So you don't believe there are victims?
That's to be litigated and be found out.
No one's saying that you were involved in this.
This scene was disjointed for me. What Erika just said, she said,
guess what? I don't work at Girardi Keys. I'm not a licensed lawyer.
And then what Garcelle says feels so off to what Erika was saying.
So you don't believe there are victims?
Does anyone else agree with me, or am I just like crazy? What she's trying to say is that I am not responsible for what my husband did. They're coming after me for something my husband did, right? Are we agreeing here? I know she's not doing it in a great way. I'm not defending her, but Garcelle is saying like, so you believe that there's no victims. It feels like a jump in the conversation again. Sometimes for me, it's hard to make some sort of connections, especially if I'm overanalyzing while I'm watching something. Tell me if you think that I'm not quite getting this, but I do feel like the conversation's being jumped around just a little bit, and I could see them doing that in editorial just to heighten, because they need to heighten this, and they have to make it get worse and worse and worse. So they're like, okay, Erika's talking about the law firm, but now we gotta go to the victims thing because that is what's going to bring this to the next level.
No one's saying that you were involved in this, but I thought it was a given that the money was taken from Girardi Keys.
No, it's not. It's still in litigation.
Okay, but in the meantime, let's have a little sensitivity to the victims.
The only person you should be concerned about is me.
I know that you're...
Okay, do you guys hear the silence here? They don't need music here. If you've watched my videos before, anytime that they don't have music, I'm leaning in. Of course, all of you are too. That's the whole point. When there's music, they're cueing you of how to feel, what's about to come. When there's no music, the actual words on screen are supposed to be pretty brutal. Like, basically like, we don't need to add anything to this because it's bad enough on its own.
I know that you're in defense mode right now, but it can't just be about you.
Honey, just take a deep breath. No, I'm not taking any deep breath. Why am I catching the sins of, like, somebody that I divorced?
Erika is too reactive and things come out sideways. As her friend, you're like, ugh, God, it's so hard to defend you. She's gonna have to take responsibility for the things that come out of her mouth.
You have a pair of $750,000.
Yes, she is. We're on a reality show. Why are you trying to stop her from saying things on a reality show? Okay. That's what we're here for. Okay, that's literally what we're here for.
You have a pair of $750,000 earrings. If you give it to them,
what's gonna happen? I've been nothing but upfront and honest.
Honey, the headlines are saying that you refused.
I offered. They were
okay. So I want you guys to look at that cut there. So Dorit says, honey, the headlines are blah, 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 but the headlines are saying that you refuse. And then they cut her off and they come in with this article here. My guess is she continued to say something and it maybe didn't make sense to the narrative of the conversation, or Erika totally spoke over her and they decided just to cut Dorit's mic there. But instead of making it a weird edit between her and Erika, they put this article in there. A lot of times you'll see articles or text messages or things like that are put obviously to, you know, give us more context to the scene, but they're also there so that you can manipulate dialogue underneath. There is an element of that with editing. Sometimes you need to manipulate audio and so you'll put something over it. I just want you guys to see they cut Dorit off in the middle of her sentence and went straight to Erika and then put this article in. So there was something that Dorit said that they wanted to cut off and didn't want to make it a weird edit on screen.
Do you think I think that I can get away with some
I don't think you want to get away with
I
some
don't, and you can't. We're fighting a legal battle. I'm following the law, so stop criticizing me defending myself. I've had enough.
I don't believe you knew where the money came from that Tom used to buy them for you.
15 years
issue
ago?
was you not acknowledging the victims.
So again, this scene feels a little bit disjointed, all over the place. Kyle has moved up to the bar. Did I see that happen? Or I don't remember seeing that happen. Erika moves even closer to the bar. The reason why I bring up these things was I think this conversation was a much longer conversation, and like I said, had a lot of fluff in there, because if it was just as short as we're watching it right now, Erika wouldn't have really, like, why would she be moving towards the bar? Why would Kyle be standing up and moving over? Like, I just feel like the way that it was, like, it's really just 6 minutes, but I believe it was much, much longer, and they just cut a lot out, maybe because it just wasn't exciting and they wanted to heighten it for us.
The victims, that was my problem.
They're not my victims.
People died.
Kyle, stop cursing.
Kathy,
I'm sorry.
Knock it off.
Okay. So I don't know about you, but I was annoyed with that too. I was like, Kyle, this is the time, you know, for Kyle to be cursing. But of course, if you guys have watched my videos before, this is really just to cut the tension. They have to kind of throw in some comic relief. Of course, Kathy is like, she seems hurt because of that tequila situation that happened before, which I can understand. But, you know, she comes in with this and then the music lightens up a little bit. Again, I've talked to you guys about this before. They have to cut the tension there, or else us as an audience, if they continue to heighten this conversation without cutting any tension whatsoever with some sort of light moment or just bringing us back down to some sort of plateau, we as the audience will check out at some point. It's just human nature. We can't watch tension for too long. We can't feel that tension. Just like if you watch a horror movie or something like that, they're always going to break the tension somehow, because if they don't, the audience will.
People died, and the families are left in the aftermath. You're not showing any compassion.
Why am I showing compassion for people that are dogging me for something I didn't do?
Don't say that, Erika. Don't say that, because you're my friend. I can't defend that. Don't say you can't have compassion for people.
This just didn't make sense to me. Still, I don't know about you guys. I just didn't make sense. Kyle was just talking about victims. I don't think the people that are dogging Erika are the victims necessarily, at least from the lawsuits I've seen. And then Kyle comes in with this really dramatic, like, I can't defend you type thing. It just feels like if this was written in a script, I know there would be a lot of rewrites. Let's put it that way.
Died. They're not my victims, not my problems.
They're not.
Don't keep saying it, please. Put you aside for 1 second.
Why are you so hung up on this?
I'm trying to help you be Erika.
Okay, you guys see that little shot of Sutton? Like, instead of just having Sutton be on the couch, they kind of showed it with, again, the dirty frame, right? Between two people. I think it's probably between Dorit and Diana. It just sort of gives not only like a fly on the wall look at Sutton, but it also like makes Sutton feel a little bit more removed from what's going on here, because she's not really chiming in on this at all.
Your own victim.
I'm not a victim.
Okay, what do you want to call
I'm
yourself?
not a
What do you want to
victim.
call yourself?
Honey, I've been a wife that's been left in ruins.
We need to get her out now.
Okay. I just would have loved, like, if you want to cut the tension, editors, a wife that's left in ruins, let's cut back to private jets and glam squads and all that stuff that's still happening. I'm not seeing ruins. Are you guys seeing ruins? Okay.
No, I tried. She nearly.
I just don't think you understand the issue. I'm not upset with you.
It's getting to a point where you can't come back from certain things. And when I sense that, you know what? You gotta go. Because nothing good is going to come of this.
If you guys saw my post in my community tab, you know how I feel about this. Rinna pulling Erika out of this situation. When I tell you I raged on the inside. These shows are about redemption. These shows are about women doing things that we find maybe deplorable or out of control or totally delusional. And then we want to see them come back. Redemption stories are what we live for, because we as a human race are constantly in need of redemption as we grow and change and evolve. I don't know about you guys, but there are so many things in my past that I wish I could change, maybe not to this level, but you know, seeing it on a big magnified stage, it's not a popular opinion to have, you know, sympathy for Erika, but she has been through a lot. She has. Her whole life, whether we love it or whether we think she deserved it or not, has imploded. She's seeing a lot of, I think, consequences of her actions from so many years, and I think that takes a lot of time to process. I'm not apologizing for her whatsoever, but I think us as a viewership, there's nothing better than seeing someone redeem themselves in a big way. Like, there are ways that Erika could redeem herself in a huge way. But pulling her out of this scene where she's ending on this type of note, I'm just like, you're not a producer, Rinna. You can't do this to us. Like, this is not, you're trying to save your friend on a TV show. That's not what reality TV is to us. And it's so annoying and frustrating to me. Okay, I'm gonna keep watching.
You know what? Let's go back to Kyle's. It's enough. You're done. We're going.
I'll fight this all night long. I know I'm right.
I know, but we're going. We're leaving.
I'm not caving into some
Fine. We're going home. We're going back.
Caving because people think I should feel
Erika,
some way.
No more.
This whole scene felt very put on to me as she's like sauntering out saying this stuff. It felt very villain like put on to me. I don't know what you guys think. But also more than that, from an editorial standpoint, listen to the music underneath. It's sort of like this like ominous sort of building like she's leaving.
I think I should feel
Erika,
some way.
No more. We're done.
Let it play out in a court of law.
Nothing has been resolved here. It's leaving an open-ended thing, and the music is really telling us that.
We're done.
Let it play out in a court of law.
We're done.
Take responsibility
back.
for shit
Erika,
I didn't
we're going.
do.
Erika, we're going.
I pray to God your doesn't end up like mine.
Guys, let's
What a wasted opportunity there. I pray that your stuff doesn't end up like mine as she's putting on a fur stole. I know the camera people got in there and got some sort of close-up of her putting on a fur stole as she's saying, you know, I pray that your shit doesn't end up like mine. But instead they cut back to the couch, which is fine. You know, I'm sure they have their reasons, but I was just like, oh, like that would have been such a moment.
Why? I stay here and fight all night with these
guys,
bitches.
come on. Enough.
Non-fact issuing.
Erika, go on. We're
you all. What about the facts, dumb?
Cool. So what they did was they took audio. I think she was still actually in the stairwell yelling. They took audio of her yelling in the stairwell and they actually put it underneath where they're outside.
What about the facts, dumb?
Didn't sound like the sound changed much, like she's outside saying that, but they did just want to kind of give the illusion like she's yelling and screaming all the way to the car.
I was really looking forward to a game of shuffleboard.
Not happening, girl, not happening.
Okay, so they end with a light moment. Music is out. I was really looking forward to a game of shuffleboard. They do a nice close-up of the shuffleboard, the empty shuffleboard table. Garcelle says it's not happening, and then they go into like the light music. They started light, they ended light, really common to, you know, finish like you start. So that's all I have for that scene. It was super dark. It was really disjointed for me. All of the words kind of didn't always make sense. People didn't say things that I wanted them to say. She was pulled out too soon. I was just generally just frustrated with this moment, especially because this moment was something we were looking forward to from the beginning of this season. All of this to say, I'm still like enthralled in the season. No matter how frustrated I get with all of these shows, I still am always coming back for more. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time.
You went to chemo with him? You saw him get chemo?
I was in the waiting room.
Yeah.
Well,
why would you be in the waiting room? Because when people get chemo, there's like a family room.
Never peeped in once? How are you?